All right, we are live once again. Another Sunday, and we are live. All right, let me check on something here. Okay. All right, so last week we went to the gun show in Burlington. Wasn't bad. I'm going to do a gun show report, but there wasn't a lot of people there. Not a lot of activity. It was halfway decent, small gun show. Not the biggest one I've ever been to, but there were plenty of people there, or not. There were a lot of um, vendors. Okay, put it to you this way: I think they only had one person selling some kind of pain relief cream and somebody raising money for 2A. Other than that, all the vendors were selling either firearms accessories, holsters, scopes, and a lot of them had the upper AR receivers. There was a ton of those with upper AR receiver uh, things. Um, and what the hell? Oh, and knives. There's a lot of knife sales. So the beef jerky, shoe shine stuff, and all that other bizarre crap was not there. So it was kind of a relief. And it also was actually strange to go in there and have about only 10 people out on this floor. It was quiet, um, pretty much relaxing day, nothing much really happening. Nothing caught my eye. The wife was interested in one gun, uh, but other than that, talked to a few people I know and came home after about an hour or so wandering around. So relaxing day. Nothing, uh, nothing exciting or anything like that. But nice to have another venue. It's a little bit better. Now, you only got about 5 viewers. I was hoping to get some more. I was going to discuss, as most of you know that follow the channel, I'm testing out these budget AR15s. Uh, and it's interesting. I got to do a lot more shooting with them, figuring out what twist rates are, looking at the ammunition available, what actually shoots well in them and what does not. But in all my interactions with this and the different models and types, another field, as in the title of this video, the retro ARs, is something that in working with these budget guns and fooling around with them and forced reset triggers, I went and reviewed all my components, parts, pieces, and all this other nonsense, um, and kind of did a bunch of work there, with that. And it all kind of come down to where when I was looking at this, I said, they do make the parts to replicate a budget or a retro AR, an older AR style gun. And I had one, I think they were, let me look them up. I had a civilian Colt I bought back in the late 70s. I remember that. I got to get the correct number here. I believe it was a Colt. .701, they call them. Let me look. Saved searches. Ah, here it is. Let me run that. SP1. It's an SP1. That's what it was. A Colt SP1. In nice condition, they go for like over 2K or something. All right. Megabait, how's it going? You go to the gun show out there in Hickory. I know they got one. I was thinking of going, but my wife wasn't feeling well yesterday, coming down with a cold, and I was kind of worn out. Plus, I had to go talk to somebody Saturday in the afternoon about something, so I didn't go up. But I don't know if you went or not. I went to that show several times many years ago. And I think like a lot of the C&E shows, they've been scaled down. You know, he used to be packed in Winston, and I remember going. I'd drive all the way to Fayetteville to go to that show. That was a good show until the guy that he had like the back wall just covered with reloading, powder, primers, tools, dyes, anything and everything. Then the fire marshal told him he couldn't set up his display with powder primers. And then it went from a fairly decent sized gun show to about half of the hall there. So I don't know if that's what happened up in Hickory or not. But curious. So I didn't go, but been looking into assembling parts to buy or to build a retro AR15 parts. Do. And looking at some of this stuff, yeah, it's all fun. Let me see. Brand. Looking at the brands. Boom. Ooh. Some of these get pretty stiff in their price. But yes. So something I'm working on, another thing to keep me busy through the winter. Work on this stuff. Oh. And see how it all goes. I still have my AR-15 armorer tools. But yep, that's what I was thinking about, seeing how many. Hi, Murphy's Muskets. Glad you showed up, bud. I've been playing with a lot of Century PTR stuff. Yeah, there's, they have a bunch of the, to build the retros, I guess there's a bunch of H&K parts kits. The parts kits and that I kind of really don't want to fool with. That gets way too complicated. But Century PTR, that's cool. I guess PTR is the one that's the best. Century has a problem, and that one Century rifle that I got, the Portuguese G3 that was assembled on them, that gun works. As a matter of fact, I'll take that thing out and shoot it some more. I mean, I haven't had no issues with it. People tell you that where they fold the receiver, it'll crack in spots and all this other weird stuff. And I guess they built a lot of HK style guns on the SETME Cs, and you see them everywhere. And there's some of them were good, some of them were real bad, you know. But yeah, I don't know. I like them. I haven't run into no problem. I mean, the whole market is collapsing, be it ARs or even that stuff. I've seen the price on Mark Lamar rifle I bought dropped another 100 or 200. You know, if I waited 6 months, I could have got it for less. But I don't know. It's crazy. It's different. And you're right. Eventually, all that stuff's going to dry up, and they're not going to make it no more. Been buying Bay tools because of the deal. Ruger PC. Yeah, I mean, Ruger come out with some sort of new pistol, kind of like a Glock clone, and that's kind of come down in the price too. Um, you know, and yes, every passing day, it gets lower and lower. Okay, I forget I had that ATI pistol I got for about what it was offered online. Now it's dropped another 30 units or something. It's almost down to an even 300 units. I mean, it's amazing. And Black Friday's coming at the end of the month here, guys, or towards it. And that's going to be another. I remember I did the thing where I went to the store, Sportsman's Warehouse, and got the double barrel shotgun. And they had online stuff, and I ordered that stupid 22. Matter of fact, I got to take that out. One of the Chinese dot scopes. I mean, the thing looked like it would fall apart if I put it on one of the ARs. So I put it on that thing because the little polymer sights in there ain't worth the crap. I got to go sight that in. But for less than a C note, for a little plastic 22 that you can just chunk in the vehicle or put behind the seat of the truck and leave it there, just to have a little 22 to go planking or something. It's not a bad deal. I mean, it'll shoot good once I get some sort of sight on there, that I can adjust to zero it in. But it works well, for what it is. And the, a spare mag costs almost half of what the gun does or something, or a third of it. You get 3 magazines and you got the cost of the gun. It's another hilarious thing, but it's pretty cool. Uh, yeah, retros. And yes, because anything, those SP1s, okay, in good shape, go for 2K or more. Okay, I remember I bought that gun, and it was just like the Air Force, the one I got back in the 70s. It was just like the Air Force one, did not have a forward assist. It didn't have a chromed bolt. It had the regular bolt that went in there. And it was a nice gun. It was, pencil barrel, triangular stocks. I think I had a duckbill suppressor on mine. Uh, but I just wanted something different. Actually, what it is, I bought a HKG. What were they? G91s. They called the civilian model. I actually kind of sold that to get money to buy uh, the Heckler and Koch product, and I got those, back when they were hard to get, and uh, I wish I never sold them. But when I had to move and sell the house, they had to go. I mean, they were worth a lot more money. They're worth a lot more money now. If I kept them, I had a 91 and a 93. I picked up the 93. I had to sell to pay for a new furnace in my house. Basically, that's what I did. Found somebody that wanted it, paid me what I was asking, and paid the man to have heat in the winter. But if I had a place to store everything that I bought over all the years and it was placed in storage and kept in good shape, I would not have nothing to worry about in my retirement right now. I probably have enough to pay off what's left on the house and everything. I mean, it's crazy. But that's another thing. The way the economy and everything's going, man. I mean, if I order something from somebody, a part or magazines, order a magazine, it's like I put the order on, and if it's early in the day, they're shipping the damn thing that day. Usually it used to be you waited a day or two. Now anything I order, I even ordered some of these old, field gear and stuff. I mean, I placed the order, and 15 minutes later, I get an email. Your order's shipped. Here's the tracking number and all this other stuff. It's crazy. Yep, 91. Yeah, those are nice. Those are nice, man. CA3. Yep, yep. You got it for $6.99. I paid a little, just over 8 for mine. Okay. Need new recoil springs. I don't know. I might just replace the damn thing now that you mention it. Replace it just out of, because I mean, it's stupid to buy an old gun and put money into it, and something like a $10 spring or something, or even for a larger mainspring, spend $20 to get the gun working where it don't beat itself to death. And I think that's the problem a lot of these people have. Like I found with the 9mm AR carbines, I bought a receiver from PSA. It takes Glock magazines. So I went and built it on a 16-inch barrel rifle. So I made an actual rifle. And come to find out, what people do is the parts I got, the blowback nines, even though the bolt is weighted and everything, your buffer has to increase in weight and the strength of the spring depending on what length your barrel is. In other words, a 12-inch barrel has to have a buffer and a spring and one thing in a pistol, and it works fine. The longer the barrel gets, the more force, because the longer the blowback is stronger as your barrel length increases. And with that 16-inch barrel, I mean, I had to screw around. I was firing the gun, and I mean, it was coming back to where it was popping out of my hand. Okay, and a lot of people will just put together something and just keep shooting it until the damn thing breaks. The gun was going to beat itself to death. It was going to go until something failed. So I had to screw around, get a custom buffer and that, and got it to where it was working. And once it kind of smoothed out a little, I mean, the thing is great. Now I can shoot it. It's a fun gun to shoot. But at first I was a little upset. So yeah, you have to use some common sense, and that's what people don't do. There's people that argue with me when I say whenever I get a Star pistol on any of them, I change the recoil spring, because a lot of people, especially if it's 9mm Largo, and you can't get 9mm to shoot in it, they'll cut the recoil spring until the gun somewhat functions. So a lot of them, they're either worn out or cut down or something. So yeah, that's with a Star. It's automatic, man. I replaced the recoil spring and a lot of other stuff instantly. No, they're not, because what's his name? God Guns and Family. He goes to that one gun shop. The woman said it's crazy. People come in and they bought these guns uh, new, and she goes, they bought them a few years ago. She goes, back during the plague when everything was, MSRP plus. I remember that. It was MSRP plus if they got something into a big box store like Bass Pro or Gander Mountain or something. Not Gander, I think Gander Mountain's gone. Bass Pro, and what's the other one? Cabela's. There's two of them up towards Raleigh. You can go to Bass Pro or Cabela's, and they're pretty close to each other. But yeah, they were doing MSRP plus on a 22 pistol I bought in the middle of all this. It was the only gun, and I mean they didn't have nothing in the case, like 4 items. Usually when they got 30, 40 of them, it was weird. And now people bought them and they're like, well, I ain't shooting this. Money's tight. The economy sucks. Like Murphy's Musket here is saying it is scary because all these budget guns I've been reviewing the past 6 months, they're dropping. Some of them are even dropping. And that SAR9X, it's crazy. Those without the holster and all the other stuff, they're going for $2. Okay. And they're a damn good pistol, Glock style pistol for 200 C notes. I mean, and like I said, when I showed it to my neighbor, he's supposedly a gun expert, and he has some strange stuff he was showing me. He collects all these off the wall contracts for DEA and everything. He had some bizarre shotguns and stuff, and he got an H&K P7, which I have not seen one of them in close to 40 years. Okay, them squeeze cocker pistols. And he's kind of tight with his money, but he told me he flung that guy $2K in half a heartbeat because it came with 4 magazines and everything else. I mean, the pistol looked brand new. I forget how long they stopped making them, sometime in the 90s or something. But yeah, if you're bringing them like Glock or something, or something like that, trying to liquidate it with the local gun stores, they're not going to take it because he's got to offer you a C note. Maybe he could sell it for 2, and chances are everybody wants something you can stick one of them stupid RMA sights on a pistol with a cutout, which I kind of don't get that. Even the small ones, how do you holster that? Or you get a subcompact concealed carry gun and put a sight that sticks up an inch or 2 above it. What's the point? I mean, and I really, on a pistol, I kind of don't like them because you can see your heartbeat and it moves around too much for me. At least with an iron sight, I can focus, and once it lines up, I know to let it fly. But yeah, they're not gonna. It's like when I talk about these deals, that I'm getting with these budget guns, and these people, well, I'll go to the, and I said, no, you're not going to a shop, you're not going to a gun show, you're not going to a dealer. You have to go to an online warehouse or wholesaler, a big operation. And what they'll do is they'll catch a deal if somebody can't move something. And, like with anything, they're not buying a few guns to stock their local little shop, like 4 or 5. They buy 50, 100 at a time. They advertise and online, and that's how they sell them. That's how they can lower the price. And like I tell everybody, you're talking half a C note to get them. So if it's 2, it's going to be 2.5. Okay, by the time I have it in my hand, by the time you pay There's 20 for shipping. You're going to get nailed with tax. Most places charge tax, and some places, their price is a little bit more. They don't charge you sales tax if you're out of state, and then it kind of works out in a weird way. Whatever their shipping is, you actually do save some uh, dinero on it. Not a huge amount, but enough to make a difference. It is, and it's tough. You got to sit there and calculate all this stuff. But like you said, some of our gun shows are dead. I went to this one. It was quiet, but there was a guy that had radical firearms, AR rifles. Okay, and he had like 5 of them laid out there. Okay, and I don't know if it was an out the door deal or what, but the price tag on them, and some of them, they have different hand guards and stuff on them, whatever. I guess I didn't even go look, but he had a sign up, 400 units across the board. Now, if that was out the door, that's about when they go at 3.5. And like I said, by the time I get them, it's at that price, maybe 20 units more, 15 more, or sometimes 15 less. Like that deal I got with the Anderson, they didn't charge shipping or sales tax, I believe. They didn't charge shipping or something. I got that thing dirt cheap. Okay, where the people who took over are making it now, I come walking away at 375. Okay, and if you go and buy, whoever bought Anderson, you get the identical thing, the identical parts, everything's identical, but it has a different name on there, is 480 495, which, it's crazy. And the retro guns, like you were saying there, my friend, retro guns, some of them are 12. They're all over K. Because when I was saying AR prices are falling, somebody sent a comment. Well, what about all of these? And yeah, they're still all over a K a piece. All right, and they don't go on sale. Put it to you that way. You got to get a blend, whatever that means. They scratched it or dropped it or something. I have no, and they'll knock usually 20, 30 off maybe. So that's your blend discount. So some of that stuff is pricey. But then again, it's also cool to have something like that. Also, that's the thing I like. I like the weird ass stuff. But yes, a lot of people like those gun show reports and talking about it. That's one thing, I guess, anyone who's interested in guns. Uh, when I do like antiques or black powder guns, is some people ain't interested in it. And when I talk about ARs, there's a lot of people interested, but some are not interested. And complaining about the gun shows kind of universal, and that's where I get the biggest views, feedback, comments, everything. And it's not like it was. The one thing they do, at least in my state, is there's all kinds of signs. You cannot do any dealing outside of the building. Okay, which a lot of times there's people who used to go to the damn gun show. They didn't go inside. They would just be buying, trading, everything outside the show, and doing that without even going in. There was a bunch of them there, but like I said, this show was strange. I didn't see anyone really. There was one company way in the corner, and where my wife seen that pistol, they had brand name guns, like that was a Kimber lightweight. And we found out that out the door, it was over a C note off of the MSRP, which you don't usually see that, which must mean that that ain't moving. They were moving a lot of inventory, I guess. They because they had like you go to a shop and there's usually a tag when you go in there on the guns, that'll give you the description and the price. Well, all their stuff from their shop had a price over the tag price, which I guess was lower. And it looked like they moved a lot of stuff. Of course, they had all brand name stuff. There were Glocks. There were guys that had, they'll have 10, 15 different Glocks out there, different models, calibers, sizes. They were there. But the only thing is, even if Glock redesigns it, they're supposedly redesigning it where you can't put a switch in it. And who really wants to do that other than somebody that's, in a way, some of the stuff is kind of cool, but in a way, some of the stuff has no purpose other than, really breaking the law. Okay. And I think I used to see them if you go to that AliExpress, and you used to be able to get solvent traps that were just, aluminum suppressors not drilled out. Well, those are gone. They've done something to stop that. Okay, and they actually had set Glock switch, the unit done. Like the one you see with the two buttons or something that you slide in there. And I heard somebody got burned. They ordered one, got through customs, and ATF and everybody had it. They repacked it. They allowed the thing to be sent to the person's home. And the ATF was with that package the whole way. And when that guy come out and accepted that package, I heard they arrested him. Which, the thing about it is that it's true. It's like the AR-15 drop-in auto series. Those were around since the 80s. Some kind of gizmo you just kind of chunk in there, and it'll. But the thing is, I think the gun only runs full auto when you stick that thing in there. They call them lightning switches or something. And they 3D print them. Okay, just possession of that device. You don't need to have a gun or anything. Just possession of that device will get you put in a state prison. Just having it. Nevertheless, making them and selling them, you're in a world of hurt right there and then. So yeah, they kind of blocked all that crap out. Yeah, I mean, I remember I passed on them. I wanted a 1909 because it was like a Mausers, and 98 Mausers, what it was. I didn't pick up on them old ones. And the one I got when they had it at the auction, the carbine, the little cavalry carbine, they started at 4 or 5 and then down, and the auctioneer comes down. And I'm like, wait, and I said, how far are they going to go down? They hit 2. Then when they hit 1 C note, 8 hands come up. Oh, that's what everybody's thinking. I ain't paying more than 100, 100 and a quarter for it. And I just said, and then the auctioneer is standing there in shock. And I just raised up my card and said 2. And then everyone looks, he looks, and he checked, okay, so we got, this is what we got. Anybody gonna go up? And nope. And he goes, you got it. So I was the only thing there were a lot of firearms in that auction, and a lot of them guns were in terrible shape. Bores shot out, parts missing, and everything. That was the one thing I spent the whole day sitting there waiting, and I ended up with it. Dollar General parking lot. Food and tools. You mean like a little flea market or something? Because the one major flea market I had down here close to me, um, the people that owned it or ran it sold the business, and then the new people come in with a whole bunch of rules and changed everything. And the property they're renting out half of it or something for storing. I guess they're either trailers or double wides. They've closed off half of the property, and I see all these. They could have been trailers or double wide homes being staged there to be sold. So my flea market and that's done. Dollar General, a little west of me. Yeah, but they were doing it. They were doing it. You used to be able to get solid traps, and there was no deal on that until they started cracking down on 80%. And then they just told you that to have something like that, them solvent traps imported, that you have to be a dealer or show up with the paperwork to construct them, that you're a certified uh, dealer. And they stopped it. Okay, I've never really heard of anyone getting burned on them. I've heard of people getting burned for drilling holes in them and getting caught with them when they're functioning. But just receiving them, no. But see, the Glock switch and the lightning link or something like that, whatever that drop-in auto series, and you can search them on Google, and there are websites set up that will sell you them. Okay, and they do have something written on the bottom. This is considered a machine gun, but I don't know if it's just an ATF setup that allows you to buy them, and they nab you, and then they said there was a kid. I call him a kid. He was 17 or 18, and he was 3D printing them, and he was selling them, I guess, on some social media platform, where you'd meet him and he'd sell you one. So local law enforcement went down there, sent him an email, said, "Hey, we'll buy one." And he wanted them to meet in a food court or something in a public place, and was sitting there. They walked right up and away he went. Okay. Uh, so yeah, there's like you said, you gotta be asking for it. Yeah, with tables from people. Yeah, they had something in I think, are you talking about Climax? The Where the dollar store was across the street, there was like a shopping plaza or strip mall, you want to call it. The post office had an office there. And they closed that post office when they were downsizing. The boxes are still there in service, the PO boxes, but not they don't have a counter person. And there was a general store and something else, and the place was kind of abandoned. There was a barber shop I used to go to, then they moved, and then somebody took over a couple of little storefronts and was selling like craft stuff or something like that. And they used to have people come into the parking lot and set tables up. I don't know if they paid anybody or they just did it. They just came there and did it. I have no idea. But yeah, that's what they would do, set up tables. Yeah, I guess so, because the only thing I can tell you about the FTRs, Okay, even the simple ones. Okay, the super safeties. Yes, I can't show the footage, but I got one to work, and it is basically, and even if you get the fancier ones that work with the safety, basically it is converting the gun to selective fire. Okay, and I don't care what you say. Yes, you can feel that trigger get thumped. Okay, when it's working, and I guess the legal rule is that your finger is moving. Okay, it's not like an actual full auto where you pull the trigger and your finger does not move and you let go and it stops. This is a hair, because it is. That sucker cuts off. Boom, boom, Um, you're right. Yeah, it could be. Now that I even mentioned it, I bet that I had one somewhere. The parts. Is it set up? Are they going to change? They're changing everything. Okay, and it's like the drop-in autos here. They used to sell them out of Shotgun News back in the 70s, way back. It was a simple little thing you throw in. It's the same thing as the Lightning Link, just about. And you can make one. There's one you can make with a coat hanger. Okay, for Christ's sakes. You take a wire coat hanger and bend it up and make something just like it. Um, but, at first they couldn't do anything because they didn't do anything because you weren't modifying the gun and things moved slower back before the internet. Okay. Now you got a website and this thing comes out, and that one guy said that they sold out 600 items or units of this thing in 30 minutes. Okay. And they were getting like two bills, two C notes each or more, three for them almost. I mean, that's a lot of movement. And then see, now it's the thing. Okay, so just like with them drop-in auto series, it was like, well, you can't get them no more, but anybody that has them can keep them. They start because Ian did a thing on it. I never had one. I never followed it. Um, and then if you went and had them serial numbered, you could keep them. Okay, but you'd have to go and pay the $200, do all this stuff, and the federal government would put a serial on it, that, those are the only legal ones. And after 1986, you can't do that no more. And I've seen one of them come up, you know, and they want thousands for it because it's legal. Okay, but see, the problem is that I think there are 13 states in the U.S. that outlaw any ownership of fully automatic weapons. My state is one that is not, the one I live in now in North Carolina. You can buy and go through the process. You can get suppressors, you can get full auto guns, and you can, what else was there? Yeah, sawed off shotguns, whatever. You can legally buy them. Okay. But see, it comes down to the counties. There's one guy that lives in my county because the sheriff in that was pretty lax about it, and he moved from another state with an M60 machine gun. And when he moved and was moving everything, he had to look around. He ended up in my county because the sheriff didn't require all this weird crap to where if he lived a mile and a half in another county, they had a whole pile of stipulations about how this thing should be stored, all this other stuff. And he used to come to the gun shows and he'd set it up on the table and you can go look at it, touch it, all that other fun crap. So, but yeah, that's where you're right. You can get, because it's like with the pistol braces. Some states they were legal, and when they said it's a short barreled rifle, now these people are screwed. Now you got something that the state's going to come down on you. Now, yeah, that's what I mean. That's how they got over it. Forced reset trigger. It's like a bump stock. What it does is you put this mechanism in an AR-15, and when you set it to the forced reset trigger, when you pull the trigger, there's a device in there that when the bolt comes forward or when a bolt goes rearward, it resets the trigger and your finger moves. And then when the bolt closes, the gun fires. Go to YouTube and look up FTRs, force reset triggers, and there's a whole bunch of videos of people demonstrating shooting them. It simulates fully automatic fire. Yeah, what's that, for groundhogs or coyotes? Yeah, VA's been kind of hanging in the balance a couple years in a row. They were, I remember that, what was it, 2 years ago or something? They were gonna pass a whole host of red flag, this, that, um, laws. And I remember everybody was watching it. I think Iraqi veteran 8888 or whatever, he was doing a blow by blow thing with him and his guys broadcasting and explaining the breakdown. And I think they were even watching the election results. Okay. I know he's out of Georgia, where he was set up in that one gun shop he worked in. I don't know if he's still down there. But yeah, they were, and I mean, they were pointing out all these different things. It wasn't good. The two are now tied. Which Jersey got a governor, or because I know in New York City they're all going nuts over the mayor. Um, that's a big thing in New York. Who's going to be the mayor and how all that crap's going down there. Really, I don't know. And it's like when he said something about a 2-way win as a setup, governor. Okay. Governor. All right. When Murphy's Musket said a 2-way win is a setup, it's kind of like when they did this constitutional carry in the state. I don't know if they passed that law yet or not. It eliminates all the stuff about. Well, you should know. You don't have to get them pistol purchasing permits no more. And I guess if they pass this law, I can't remember if they did or not. You can carry concealed without no permit or nothing. But if you watch that guy from up in Washington State, Washington gun lawyer, he did a breakdown of this. And what he said is just like on a normal form, they ask you, are you addicted to marijuana? Blah, 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 all this other stuff, felony, denounce your citizenship. But now, if you're considered an alcoholic and a drunkard, in other words, if you get a DWI or red flag logs, people say, well, this guy's a drunkard. We find him laying out in his front yard on Friday, Saturday morning after going out Friday night. If you get labeled as an alcoholic, there's a clause in there that it voids this, kind of like domestic violence or something. You lose your right to carry the guns. Okay, how far it goes, I don't know. But I mean, that's something like a red flag deal there. And he pointed that out. Yeah, you might think you're getting a win, but now there's a caveat. There's a clause in there where it's pretty simple to lose those rights. Okay, pretty simple. Yeah, I mean, those guys had the gun gripes or whatever they had. I used to watch some of them. They kind of go on longer than my lives. But yeah, it's like you mentioned. Even though they're touting this as we made a two-way win on a decision, um, the ground set to make it easier. Okay, so it's kind of like a bait and switch. They're like, okay, you ain't got to screw around, go through all this crap to get a concealed carry permit. I still will, because what that does, at least in this state, when I go purchase a firearm, I give my driver's license and my concealed carry, and that's an automatic background check. Okay, I have a valid license that is considered an automatic background check. And that's it. Also, on a private sale of, say, a handgun, if I fill out a bill of sale, which you keep two of them, you record the guy, his driver's license, and his concealed carry number, that number on there, it's kind of like it is a license. I sign swearing that the firearm is not stolen, and he signs saying that on his paper this is who he is, and he can own a gun. And there you go. Okay. Actually, there was a guy in this bar room that said if you do that, he goes to come in the back office and he goes, I have 3 notaries. I can make a phone call if you want to do the transaction here. And he goes, sit down, have the notary look at all the documents, and he will notarize the papers. So he goes, you were 100% airtight, bulletproof on this. Because the guy's a good supporter of the Second Amendment, and his brother was a military officer, and he's friends with a lot of local law enforcement and shit. But yeah, there's ways to do it. Because see, that's why the new forms, what you're supposed to do is on any sale, you're supposed to go to a licensed dealer, come in there with the guns. He runs the background check, like purchasing a gun. And that's why the form has changed. And of course, you're going to have to pay the guy to do this. But a lot of people are terrified and don't want nothing coming back on them, because I guess, like it's mentioned there, you don't know how things are going to change in the next few years, legally. Yes, I mean, yeah, because it's like, how do you know somebody's a convicted felon? You find some guy walking down the street, he's got a driver's license, he's got a concealed gun. All right. How do you know he's not a convicted felon? You know, unless you got a wanted poster or something. Thing will change for the worse. That could be true. If things start to get more violent. Oh, by the way, anybody go grocery shopping this weekend after they stop the uh, whatever food stamps? I didn't see anything strange happen, rioting or anything like that. There's a lot of people that put this stuff out and show these TikTok things that people are ranting and raving, and people are going to rant and rave all the time. But I doubt very much. Okay, I mean, New York City is a different thing. They've been doing this long before they cut off any benefits. Looting stores, just coming in and taking what they want. But there's too much of a negative fear thing on there, and there's some gun channels that push a lot of this, especially after Charlie Kirk was killed. There was a whole bunch. Fortunately, or maybe my AI don't throw it up because I don't look at them and that. But the fear and the conspiracy and crazy stuff, and I really don't believe that things are, well, at least not where I am. Okay, like I said, New York City and some of the major cities is a whole different situation. Showing Phoenix. Antique military arms. They kind of don't have that here. They call it a military show, but we have one at the state fairgrounds that a guy runs 2 or 3 times a year. It used to be a lot of Civil War reenactors went there, and that is the one place where you can go buy military uniforms, medals, helmets, swords. There's one guy that used to come around. He actually went to a couple gun shows locally. That he's just got racks and racks of sabers and stuff. That's all he has. Um, you know, Shows like that are cool. Yeah, and you ain't got to worry about filling out any paperwork either. But you don't see them. We only have one here. It's at the state fairgrounds, uh, and that kind of is downsized over time too. Actually, my friend was asking me to come up to the last one. I didn't, because it's 2.5 hour drive for me to get there. Yeah, that's what I mean. Everybody's saying they're going nuts and they're showing these TikTok things of these people carrying on and going berserk and that. So I don't know. First question. Yeah. All right. See how that's going to work. I don't know. I don't know how that's all going to work. Okay, but we'll see. Maybe you're right, a couple weeks, but yeah, the price of coffee's up. That's because we're at odds with people in Central and South America. You know, I like having my coffee too, but then it gets a little crazy. I don't know if it's not that far to go. See, like I said, I'd go there even though I wasn't going to buy anything. I don't expect to buy anything. I forget when I went there. I bought a patch, an old army patch from World War II that my great uncle was in that division, and I haven't seen one in years, and I went and bought it. It was 12 or $14 or something. It's something like that. And then there was a guy that had some rifles there, and I picked up a Spanish rifle. I believe it was the 16 or something, and it had a good bore on it. I think it was in 7.62 NATO, and I looked at it, and 600, 6.5, and I'm like, he was making an offer, and I put it down. I don't know what I got mine for. I think I got mine, well, after paying exorbitant shipping fees and everything, because I got it in auction, but I paid a lot less than that. I think it was just under 5, but it was nicer too. So, you know, but no, going there, something to do if it ain't that far. That's I used to go to these smaller gun shows just to kill time on a weekend, and the guy wasn't charging a whole hell of a lot, and they were small. It was a 10-15 minute drive, not a couple hours. So I'd go up there and just wander around. I'd run into some people I knew and that and everything. And generally just walk around for 30, 40 minutes. If I've seen some people, I gotta move my legs. All right. Run into some people I know and just talk with them for an hour or so. But, then it kind of, the shows aren't getting like this last one I went to. It was pretty strange. There was not a lot of people there. I mean, it's weird to go in to the hall with all these tables and there's 10 people maybe wandering around. You know, even these little tiny shows this guy has, there's at least 30, 40 people wedged in there, so it looks like a giant crowd. And the parking lot gets full up, but I don't know. It's kind of strange. So, any of you guys have a retro AR, have ever splurged and got one of them? Because I remember when Brownells, there was a company making a lot of them real bizarre ones, the AR10s and the real early Armalite versions with the weird color stocks and everything. I forget the name. The guy studied it and was recreating the top cocking handles and all that other stuff. And I remember Brownells had a sale. I was tempted to get one, and I was gonna do it, and some other subscriber did. And when they lowered the price down considerably, I guess to do a clearance, he bought one, but he said he had nothing but trouble with it and had to send it back, and it did all kinds of weird stuff and didn't function well. That's true, unless you're sitting on a stack of silver. Okay, they say it's going to go up, and that's volatile, insane, and I mean where the price is moving $2 to $3 in a day, back and forth. Okay, so yeah, times are tight. I kind of seen it. I went to a bar and he had live music, so we're all in there early. And what it was is the one guy who works in there, I wanted to talk to him about something, and it's something on a personal level about his job, and I didn't want to say nothing out loud in a public place, And he did have some trouble at work, so I wanted to just ask the guy. So I went in early and was talking to the owner, the other person there, and some of the guys. And then the band comes in and they're setting up. And it's like just before about 45 minutes for the band to start showing up, all these people come in, these guys, their wives and everything. Everybody comes into this place. And my buddy shows up, and I got to talk to him, so I sat talked with him for a little while and everything. And then the band comes, and then they're milling around or getting set up. You hear them tuning the instruments, getting ready to play. And then a guy comes, guy goes up to the door, sets up at the door, and he's going and put these little bracelets on all of us that are sitting there. I guess because at that point, you come in without the bracelet, you got to pay the cover charge. So, and you got to go outside to smoke. So people are constantly going in and out of the building that's been there. So I was getting ready to go home anyway. I had to go home and eat dinner. And I'm looking, and the minute that guy set up at the door and gave the little paper bracelets to everybody, nobody started coming in. So you kind of had a room full of people that nobody paid the cover charge. And of course, the band's standing there, they ain't playing no music. And it's like, that was it. So I went outside, the owner's out there smoking a cigarette. I went to say goodbye to him and joke around him a little bit. And so yeah, times are tight. They all get in an hour early. so you don't have to pay the cover charge if you came an hour later. Yeah, Mr. Big Country, how's it going? Yeah, see, I don't know. I guess, if I die homeless and penniless in my old age, that's the way to go. There ain't nothing for anybody to fight over once I'm gone. You know, I ain't got nobody to leave it to anyway. So that's just it. That's why I think I'm gonna start reviewing my collection over the winter, dig out all this stuff that I have in storage that I haven't looked at in 4 or 5 years, and go over some of these old guns. And it just might be my age and that it's time to start thinning out some stuff. But it's like everyone's saying, ain't nobody got no money, so now is not the time to be doing that. Now is not the time to be trying to sell anything, okay, other than plasma. All right, right now the firearms market is flat. There's a lot of uncertainty. You know, they said last month something was going to happen, then this month something's going to happen. Okay, by the end of the year, some kind of huge financial disaster is going to happen. And I'm curious to see what happens once we get down there to Black Friday, the 24th. I want to see what the local sporting goods stores and stuff do, and what kind of online things, and then Cyber Monday, what's going to go on. Maybe time to save your few spare dollars, buy some ammo and stuff. Yeah, that's true, but I mean, here's the thing about it. It is an asset. You tie up your money into it, and you really, it's not like bonds or stocks where you can just make a phone call and, liquidate it. It's difficult to liquidate. A lot of it is timing. And I mean, the metals could drop and stay low for years, years and years and years. Okay, I remember that happened to me once. I bought at one price and it dropped, and it stayed there for 17 years till it got back up to where if I went and turned it in or found a coin shop to sell it for, I could actually make some money on it. So, and hanging on to anything for 20 years is tough. You know, that's the problem with it. Yeah, to get to 16 inches. They make one. They make one. What they used to do is, even when Colt made them or something back in the 80s, 70s, 80s, they used to just put a flash hider that was like 6 or 8 inches long, and then tack it on there or pin it on there, and you know go with that. Good point. Okay. Well, I'm glad you can make it, buddy. The Dems voted for this bill in February. Kind of don't understand the question. Yeah, I don't know. I have other things to worry about. Stockpiling ammo and reloading. Well, what I'm doing, I have mine. They've been sitting here for I don't know how long. I figured with everything going up, I might as well. I went and loaded like 7.65 by 53 Mauser or Argentine. I'm just using this powder up. I got powder. It's been sitting for years, and I ain't gonna sell it. And I'm gonna just use it and spend my time, my retirement, going out and shooting my guns. And I'm going to start cleaning up stuff, you know, because I mean, to buy an 8-pound keg, it's $500. I can't do that often. Uh, I'm going to just fool around, load some cartridges, shoot the guns, make some videos, and use up the stuff as I go. The grenade ring, yeah. See the feed ramps. I don't know if these retros are made with M4 feed ramps. See, that's what I'm curious about, because that was something that didn't show up till later. I don't really know. I have to go look at my older guns. They even have them in there. There was a point when they were transitioning years ago where you were getting the M4 feed ramps and your uppers may not have had them. Okay. And it could be an issue. And I think when I was looking at one of these retro barrels, it said there that this will not work with an upper with M4 feed ramps, because what's going to happen is you're going to hit that ramp and smack into the edge of the barrel nut. So that is a curious thing. Have to look into that stuff. But yes. Oh well. So yeah, Navy Vet 7665. Have you ever gotten into the retro ARs? I know you do a lot of the antique stuff. But let's see. M4 rifles. I'm having one made in the SBR. Okay. M4s. Yeah, because the police ones had 16-inch barrels, didn't they? Or Colt made some sort of a law enforcement carbine or something. They made a lot of stuff over the years, you know. It's just the retro guns, because I remember owning that old Colt civilian gun, and I remember the old M16s with the light barrel, triangular handguards. Them guns were light. They were simple, they were light, they weren't that complicated. You know, now you can do everything. They put everything on there: lights, lasers, miniature, uh, microwave oven, whatever. And now they wrap cloth and rags around. I don't know. It's simplistic shit. The one I have doesn't have M4 cuts, and the rifle ramps had burrs. So I can't even remember, because just about everything now new comes with M4 ramps. Those are not inexpensive. I want to look at some of them and what they're getting for nice ones. You know, you might as well go buy the retro rifle. It's a few $100s short, you know, of a brand new retro. You know, uh, yeah, they got you over a barrel with them things. See, they were bringing those in, and then they passed a law, I think, under Obama, that you can't bring them in no more. And now, I guess, when the military gets rid of them, they throw them into one of them metal crunchers and crunch them all up. Uh, maybe different now. Yeah. May have to search around for an auction. I don't know how many guns you're selling or how rare they are, but if they're in good shape or something, find an auction house. There's a lot of them out there, and see what kind of arrangement it is, because some of them, there's one I used that was pretty good. They came to the house, they picked up everything, we drew up the contract, but they just charge a flat, whatever the hammer price is, 20% of that comes off. And some of the real rare stuff hit about to where what I had in it, so I lost 20% on that. But some of the stuff did go higher, and some of the stuff that was real crappy, I knew was not going to make. I was lucky. Whatever I got, I was happy with it because it was a bad buy. It's one I knew I was going to lose on, and it come out I broke even. So I can't complain. I made enough on some items that it compensated for any losses I took. So that was my experience with it. And I was not in good shape at the time. I needed to get the capital in. But yeah, you can look into that. Or go to a forum and see if some people have done business with some of these, or just say, hey, has anybody ever sold anything in an auction? You guys got any advice? You go to collector's forum or something. See, maybe somebody will give you some decent advice and send you somewhere you could, max out, on what you got. Because individual sales, I don't know about you, I start running out of patience with some people, and a lot of it is aggravating also. Yeah, I know that. My neighbor, I forget, he got some sort of police shotgun that had a real short barrel on it. It was a brand name. He had to go and get it, you know, get a stamp and everything on it. Of course, he has a whole assortment of suppressors too. That he's got several of them. I mean, some of them he told me he waited at he got a Ruger 1022 with an integral barrel and suppressor. It looks like a bull barrel. And he come over to the house when he got it. He was all excited, and we sat there and shot it into a tree in my backyard, and that. But he told me he waited like 9 months or something for the paperwork to come through. Had that gun put together. How's it going? Yeah, you need a stamp for a short barrel rifle. That's short barrel rifle, automatic weapon suppressor, or short barrel shotgun, which how they make something like the Mossberg Shockwave, and I don't know. That's another. Well, it never had a full stock on it. It always had a pistol grip, so it's not a sawed-off shotgun. That was another one that really something I really don't. That little side by side Brazilian 12 gauge that I got last year at Black Friday sale. That's about the smallest shotgun I need. And using them little short shells, that's an ideal home defense thing. Something just keep around the house in case all hell breaks loose. Close range gun. And it's mild to shoot. So can't complain. Oh well. Well, been close to an hour, almost an hour and a half, about my limit. My legs are starting to bug me, so thank everybody for showing up. Another halfway decent discussion today, and we'll be back at 10 o'clock next Sunday to do it again. So if you guys got something you wish to talk about or questions, please feel free. All right. Thanks, everybody. And, have a good weekend.